Hello and welcome to the Holy Fool podcast. Holy Fool is a nonprofit community in Denver, Colorado, devoted to holding all things in common. We especially want to support working musicians who are financially struggling, trying to figure out how to make money doing music, trying to figure out how to do songwriting, recording, publishing of music without it destroying their whole lives. On the Holy Fool podcast, we interview artists, songwriters, producers, venue owners, managers, anybody who's doing redemptive work in their music scene. This week, we are very excited because we have Josaleigh Pollett and Jordan Watko, who play in the band Josaleigh Pollett. And so we are excited to have you both here. Thank you for being here. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And then we also have my buddy Nick Weber, who is in my band A Place for Owls, and he is my co-host on the Holy Fool podcast. Hello, Nick. So I am really excited to talk to you. We've been friends for a while online. My band has played a couple times in Salt Lake City, and so we've got to hang out in person. We shared a stage when A Place for Owls opened for the San Diego rock band Switchfoot.
Yes.
Yeah. You sang I'm Not Sure with us on stage, and that's still to this day the biggest show that we've ever played. It was like 2,200 people or whatever in the complex in Salt Lake City. So I love your songwriting. I love your voice and perspective. I love how weird your music is, but also melodic and accessible. I also love just your whole vibe of highlighting other songwriters and bands that you really dig, being somebody who is supportive in our little DIY and DIY adjacent online community. So I'm just stoked to talk to you, Josie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Ben. What an intro. That was so kind of you. All of the kind things that you just said have me just beaming. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. And then Jordan, you are Josie's songwriting and production partner. You play, your band name is Crowd Shy, right? Is what you produce music under? Is that still the case?
That's right.
Yeah, you're like, double check. Let me make sure. Yeah. Yeah. And Jordan, I don't know you as well, buddy, but I'm such a fan of how you make acoustic guitars and bleeps and bloops sound. And so I'm excited to get to know you better through this. And you, I'm very excited, are joining us all the way from Japan. Look at us.
Yeah, going international. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. Well, guys, how would you describe your music to someone who's never heard your band before?
You know, I've been really leaning into the indie electro have been my good descriptor words lately. I think for a long time I was like, it's tender DIY singer-songwriter stuff. But Jordan and I have been making music the way that we make music together for a few albums now. And what we do together is so much more than just like singer-songwriter stuff. So I've been calling it like DIY, electro, indie. Yeah, there's so many words we could call it, but that's usually where I end up.
Singer-songwriter at the core, though. I feel like that's always, that's where these songs originate. And so, a lot happens in the production process, and it's very much a partnership, but I think it's still singer-songwriter at the core.
Yeah. I resonate with that a lot because we're a self-described emo band, but honestly, it's like loud folk music. We write folk songs that we just try to dial up to 11. And so I love any song that's coming from a place of honesty and tenderness. And I love any songwriter who tries to make that honesty and tenderness both palatable, but also interesting and actually just ear candy and just sound good. And you guys do that very well.
I'm so glad that comes across. That is often our goal. We want to bring our feelings to the center, but we want to put them together in a way that's really interesting and fun and unique and reflective of both of our tastes. So I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, I love that in the Radio Player song because you get some of the most bleepy bloopy stuff of your songwriting career so far, but then a little over halfway through maybe you get the almost full acoustic verse or part, and there's a blue note hammer on that's just so singer-songwriter. It's just a cool moment.
Which was a total mistake. That was a take where I was like, sometimes when I'm recording, especially my acoustic guitar, I'll do like multiple takes and I'll do one like particular screw up and I will feel it in my bones that Jordan's gonna love that screw up. And I'll just be like, shoot, I messed up, but I better make the rest of this take really good because I know that Jordan's going to want to use it because I did that thing that's unique and different, but was not correct at all. So I love that it ended up in there.
Yeah, I'm constantly advocating for the scratch track to make it into the final mix.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about some of your songwriting and music heroes. Like, who are some of your influences that you gravitate towards their voice and their perspective?
Yeah, I'll go first. I know that Jordan and I have a lot of crossover, but we also, I think we're inspired so differently by different artists. But I think one that we really connected on when we first met and we first started hanging out and working on music together, Sharon Van Etten's Remind Me Tomorrow had just come out. And I think that really was just like at the forefront of both of our brains. And I had been following her career as like an acoustic folky singer-songwriter for years and admired her as a songwriter so, so much. And then she put out that album, which does have this really different level of like electronic production to it. And so I think that's probably when Jordan started listening to her, maybe. I don't know if you were listening to her much before then, but
yeah, definitely was listening before. I mean, I covered Sharon Van Etten at my wedding, at my own wedding. I covered Sharon Van Etten.
Wait. I don't know this. What song did you cover?
Oh God, I can't even remember. God, I can't remember.
It's okay. I'm gonna make sure you remember this eventually,
lore.
But I love that I'm learning new lore about you in this moment.
I'm sure there is a video out there somewhere, but
cute. Okay, cute.
Remember.
Well, sorry, that totally derails us, but I'm obsessed with it. I love Jordan with my whole heart, and every time I learn a new piece of information about him, I'm like, it feels like straight candy right into my brain. I'm just like, what do you mean? But we really bonded over that album in a big way. I still love her songwriting so much. I'm also like a huge Jason Molina songs like that's been a core songwriting inspiration to me since I was a teenager. And also a really big fan of Jen Wasner, the whole Flock of Dimes world.
My God. That Flock of Dimes record from this last year was my album of the year. It was like my favorite
As
thing
it should
that happened.
Yeah. Flawless record, like
Ridiculous.
Truly flawless record. And she just continues to get better and better, and all of her projects are so magical to me. So, yeah. And like production wise, she's also somebody we look to all the time where she's doing cool stuff. I think she was the first place that I heard of like the Moog Matriarch synthesizer that now Jordan has. I'm obsessed with every sound that comes out of that thing.
Is that one? Because the grandmother's like the mono synth. What's the Matriarch?
The Matriarch is paraphonic. So
okay,
for
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
I barely know what it means, but it's somewhere between monophonic and polyphonic, if you can believe that exists.
Very cool. That's
Jordan, how about you? Who are some of your songwriting and production and just overall artistry influences?
I mean, everything that Josie said. I mean, I grew up like earliest musical memories are probably 80s new wave through my dad. So, I'm a big Cure, Depeche Mode fan, especially as it pertains to like the music we create. Though I think probably my biggest influence though is Low. Just their ability to consistently just come from like a place of such brutal honesty and vulnerability while like reinventing themselves sonically. Probably the band I turn to the most for inspiration.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Mimi.
Yeah.
Truly. Yeah.
When did you guys start writing songs? And tell me a little bit about your journey with like embracing songwriter as a piece of clothes that you wear.
Together or individually?
Individually, please.
Yeah. I'm happy to go first, but I have pretty much been writing songs since I was a tiny baby in some capacity, like ad-libbing a song about whatever was happening around me as like 3 and 4 years old. That was the thing to do. Like I was just constantly singing about stuff. I come from like a very music-oriented family. My dad's always been in bands. My mom is just like a huge music fan. She's always singing and playing guitar too. So it was just music's always on and around as I'm a kid. So I'm like, this is how you communicate. You communicate through singing what is happening to you. And that just like leached into my like processing of the world at such an early age that I really don't remember a time when I wasn't writing songs in some capacity. But I think as like an early teenager, like 12, 13 is when I really started to be like, this is like a serious thing. I'm going to sit down and like write a song on this piece of paper and play it and like record it in some way, and that's how I'm going to exist in the world. So super early, it's just kind of always been a part, always there. I don't remember a time without it.
Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I did not come from a musical family, although my dad did love music. And so that was definitely my exposure to it. But I got my first guitar when I was 12 years old. I think just because my best friend at the time also wanted one, or it was his idea or something, and kind of started from there. And then probably I think I was 14 or 15 when I was playing in bands, and we got our first like 8-track like floppy disk recorder, like, I mean, not too dissimilar to like a, like a Tascam like this, and it was kind of over from there for me as far as ever getting great at guitar, because then all I wanted to do was just learn how to record all of the instruments. So got into recording digitally on the computer shortly after, played in bands all through high school, and then eventually, I mean, long story short, everyone kind of goes their separate ways, and at some point I remember kind of being left there to my own devices, but still wanting to make, songs with multi-instrument songs. And so that's when I started getting into electronic music, because that's kind of what was available to me as someone who was solo, but didn't gravitate in the same way that like Josie mentioned. Like I wasn't really interested in the lyrical content as much. So it's kind of fell into it, I guess.
Two like incredible Jordan lore pieces that just reminded me of. One, Jordan and I actually played at a show together when we were both probably around like 18 or 19, well before we ever knew each other, because we didn't officially meet in any capacity until like 5 or 6 years ago. But we were teenagers that were on this bill in this like house show in like Utah Valley, which is a terrible part of Salt Lake City. So like, and he was in a band called the Continentals. How would you even describe that band, Jordan? Like, what type of music was it?
It was like Arcade Fire Light. There was like 7 of us on stage.
Yes,
Let's go.
ideal.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, just incredible. I remember like finding out, similar to how I just found out that Jordan played a Sharon Vennon song at his own wedding. I remember like years after we'd met, him saying something about being in the Continentals and me being like, "What, dude? We played a show together. How did
That's
we
so
not
awesome.
know this?" And then the other thing I do want to say is Jordan recently sent me like electronic music that he was making at like 19 and 20 years old, and it is so good. I'm just so furious at him
Thank God.
all the time.
Thank God.
I'm just like, I don't know how you can just like suddenly, even hearing you talk about it there, I'm just like, so you were just like, I don't want to play the guitar anymore. I'm going to pick up this other stuff and suddenly become so brilliant and good at doing this. Like I was listening to it while I was gardening this summer and just like weeping. Just
Wow.
like, you're just beautiful, beautiful boy.
You're too nice. You're too nice.
Does that
Sorry.
still exist on the internet, or a secret, or
It does not. It existed on a hard drive for a while, but
excellent?
I'm sure there's something out there on like a SoundCloud link. I mean, the Crowdshy moniker was born very early. This was like,
Okay.
high school essentially, at like right when I was like starting to make music by myself. And so, there's like, and it's a fraught history. So there's like there's some errant stuff out there on SoundCloud, I'm sure. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
I love hearing people's high school and college bands.
Mhm.
I especially love when they're not that good, actually.
Yeah.
Love to see, I've started teaching guitar lessons on the side, and a lot of my students are kiddos. And depending upon the vibes of the kid, I either do, all right, the 6 notes of the guitar are Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. Or every amateur does get better eventually.
That's very good.
And I literally like I just write on my little whiteboard at my little guitar studio where I teach lessons. Just every amateur does get better eventually, just because that has to be true. And it has been
Yeah.
true in my life. And I love seeing the scrappy hero's journey of someone who just like, you can always hear like the seed, the kernel of what
Yeah.
makes somebody great and what they actually kind of grew into themselves in later. But I love that stuff, man. And I also love listening to you guys. I love the compartmentalization of effort. I love when people partner together and one's like, I really am going to focus on the acoustic guitar and the lyrics and the melody, and somebody else to be like, I'm going to really focus on the engineering and the production and the bleeps and bloops and how it all sort of fits together. I think I would be lost without creative partners, and Nick is one of my great partners in life, and so are the rest of the guys in A Place for Owls. And so I love that you guys can actually support each other in that way, because it is so lonely for most of my friends who are solo artists, both in the sort of business of music side, but then especially in just the like, is this any good? If you're just writing and recording and mixing and then mastering and then making all the decisions along the way, you just sort of lose, at least I would lose all context for like, is this even good anymore? So I love that you guys support each other that way.
Yeah, I really love looking at it that way too, because I completely agree that I would be lost without my creative partner in Jordan. But I think that like we both come from a place where we were really isolated in creating music and making it in this very solo way in, throughout your 20s, where you kind of get a little bit more individualistic, at least in our experience, and then like to get really good at making stuff by yourself, and then also to find somebody who you can like partner with, but you don't lose like the important parts of being able to create something by yourself. But it adds so much when you're able to do that alongside somebody else. And Jordan and I have really been able to figure out how that works best for both of us. And I think it's because we've both been in full band situations, and we've both spent a lot of time by ourselves trying to make stuff, and we're able to bring those compartmentalized pieces together in a really beautiful way that I get so much out of. I'm like, it's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's like 1 + 1 = 8 billion all the time.
So
It's
true.
beautiful.
So true.
Because there was a previous iteration of the Josaleigh Pollett band that was like more indie rock, indie folk, right? And then Jordan, were you still in the story at that point, or was that like some players that you had worked with previously and then you found Jordan?
So Jordan joined up with me in 2019, and I had put out one record before that, and that might be the one you're talking about. My 2017 record was super folky. It's got banjos and strings and stand-up bass, and we're all over the place. And yeah, it was a completely different iteration of the band. It was recorded in my hometown of Ogden, Utah. A friend of mine recorded in an old airplane hangar, and I just like grabbed a bunch of my friends, some of which I'd like never even heard them play their instrument before, and I was just like, we're gonna make this record. It's gonna be great. I have a vision. I want 10 people on the stage at all times. We're gonna figure this out. I had never recorded anything before.
Arcade Fire.
Basic, another Arcade Fire light, but like a fraction of the talent. Like we were just only spoken for myself. Like we were really trying to figure some stuff out then. And I think that there's like a universe where I just like continued down that path and just kept being like, no, I think it actually needs more banjo. But thank God I met Jordan at that point, and he really was able to give me some like, we could do some different things.
Yeah. I mean, it evolved so much over the course of like the last, the records that we've like made together though. Because when I first came in, I was really hesitant to shake things up too much. I mean, we were still recording at that same hangar, less people involved than were involved on Strangers for You, which I was not involved in. But yeah, I mean, I remember being very, very timid about like the pieces I was like bringing forward. It was like, hey, like I wrote this song. Would you want to try to sing on it? Or like I changed the arrangement a little bit on this one. What do you think about it? And now, I mean, thinking about like where we started to now, it's
Yeah,
crazy how different
so
it is.
so different. Because yeah, No Woman is the Sea is the album that we first worked on together that came out in 2020, and it was kind of like mashing like the weird like folk way of making a record that I had done before. Because I was like, well, I'm just gonna do that again, but with different people, maybe a smaller crew. I didn't even really know what working with like a producer or like production, like somebody that's really focused on the production of things meant for it. I was just like, what do you mean? I've got the song, we all play the song, and that's the song. It's recorded, it's done. And like meeting Jordan and having him come into it, it was just this kind of like, well, this is a completely new way of doing things, and we're going to kind of stumble through it. We ended up making something we were really proud of, but that was kind of the first like colliding together, and we've kind of been trying to figure out the better way to approach the process since then. We've gotten so much better at it than we were on that one.
Can you tell me, you guys seem like two individuals that really, there's a lot of love and trust between the two of you. And tell me a little bit about how you developed that over time. You mentioned that you're kind of hesitant at first and you're like, is this okay? I deconstructed your song just a little bit though. So like, tell me. Tell me about how you have gotten to the point where you're at now, where you seem like you could follow each other anywhere, right?
Yeah, I'm going to try and do my best to not cry when I talk about Jordan too much. I know I'm like, it's dangerous for me to be in a podcast with him because I just love him so much. I'm just like, oh, I can't look at you while I talk about how much I love you. But during the recording of our 2020 album, No Woman is the Sea, so it was friends that were recording it. Our friend Casey Romney was the audio engineer for that record. Jordan and I were both living in Salt Lake City at the time, but this recording place was about an hour away in Ogden, Utah. And so that meant that we were doing it all DIY. We weren't paying for hourly rate. So when you do that, obviously a project gets drawn out to be years long sometimes. For the entirety of 2019, Jordan and I spent most of our weekends driving to and from Ogden back to Salt Lake. And we kind of like met each other and then we immediately started doing that. And we just connected as friends so naturally through those like hour-long car rides every single time. Jordan and I were both like recently divorced and like coming to terms with queerness and like figuring out how to be musicians and like growing up in Utah and being weird. And you're like, what, we were probably like 27, 20, you were probably like 28 or 29. I was 27. So we're pretty baby. Like as a 34-year-old now, I'm like, that was a child. That was a literal child.
Yeah.
But just like really figuring that out, like a friendship out just through talking. We talked so much about music, but more so just about being people and learning about each other and building a friendship. And I think the friendship that we built that started there, that we've been prioritizing even over the music for most of our relationship. We've been through a lot of different iterations of how we make music together, but we've kind of always been like, okay, but we're friends first. Like even when Jordan was still living here before he moved to Japan, we would like, even when we were knee deep in production on In the Garden by the Weeds, we were still like, we've got a bunch of shit to do, but we got to go get breakfast. I need you to tell me about your week.
Right.
Then I'm going to tell you about my week. Then we're going to have a bunch of feelings. And then if we have energy, we'll work on the album. And so like it just kind of naturally happened where we just prioritize each other as friends first. And I think that has allowed us so deeply to create music better together, because it is such an intimate relationship to create with another person.
Yeah.
It is just as much a relationship as a romantic one or a platonic friendship. It's just like there's this intimacy to creating with somebody that like I get so much out of it. And so us being able to prioritize that friendship piece and move it along has just like completely influenced the way that we're able to communicate about the music itself.
Truly, I mean, what
I didn't cry. I didn't cry.
I know.
Great work.
You didn't cry. You're so eloquent. I mean,
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said. I feel like, we call the first record we worked on together, No Woman, like we always called it, and we still call it, the divorce record, but like truly, like it was such a transformative time in our lives. Even just even though we were in our late 20s, I mean, I feel like for both of us, there was this sense of like all these versions of ourselves that like we could have been through our 20s were now like open to us, and it was just there was so much loss, but so much possibility in front of us, and so
Lossability.
you know,
Lossability.
exactly. You know, these long drives, and I think just our personalities, it was like we just kind of fell into these like really vulnerable conversations, and like you said, like we never really stopped. I mean, you know, fast forward pandemics and lockdowns, and now we're roommates and we're trying to make a record, just the two of us. And yeah, it never really went away. It was like we would work on something, and by working on something, it just meant listening to a song, maybe talking about the song, probably just talking about what's been going on that week or that day or whatever. And you can just feel like, I think there was always a sense that we could feel it bleeding into the music that we made together. And so we've unconsciously, because we're friends, but consciously, because we know it's best for the music too, just kind of prioritize that.
Yeah. And we're in like a crazy place with it now too, because we've allowed that to happen. And now we're in this kind of like meta world with it, because the conflict, at least from a lot of my writing over the last like year and a half, is like how to navigate change and my best friend moving to a new country. And so like we're learning how to like continue this relationship and continue this creative partnership across a really vast distance and across totally different time zones, and figuring things out that way. And now it's like the songs we're working on and writing about it are like about that and about us, and it's created this
Sick.
like really crazy weird meta world, and we're like it blows my mind every day.
Has the like fully remote process been pretty different so far?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I think if anything, I mean, obviously just like being on different ends of different days, like
Yeah.
thankfully Jordan and I like we are really good at operating in our own little like individual solo worlds, and then like coming back together to look at what we created or what we worked on our own, and then like bringing it in together. So like the creation itself, kind of the way we've always operated, kind of lends itself nicely to that, because we'll just like talk about stuff and then we go off and do our own little thing and then bring it back together. But it just the nature of like, okay, our usual like 4-hour catch up of how your week went. We can't be on FaceTime for 4 hours once a week. Like that's some bullshit. I can't do it. Like my job is over Zoom. I can't, like this is rough.
Yeah.
So
we
it
do
does
still
just
do
kind
it,
of,
though.
we do. Sometimes we really have to. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, dude, I have to tell you so many things, and we're not going to work on music today. And we just have to be like, that's fine. We'll figure this out. We'll push it out. And it has made the process take a lot more time and a lot more intention, where we have to just be like, it's not really a given that we're going to find the time for this, so we have to schedule it. I got to be like at the end of every call, like, Jordan, what's your next week look like? We got to put this on the calendar, and like that's never something we had to do before. And so just like those little logistics have been hard. It's been an adjustment. But I do think that intentionality behind it has also really serviced the relationship in a way that I was very surprised by. I was like, Jordan's going to move away and it's never going to be the same, and we're never going to make music, and everyone's going to hate my music without Jordan. Like I just like I was a spiral. There was so much spiraling out about this change. And it's actually been just like very refreshing to just be like, have the technology. Everything's
we
gonna
can
be
rebuild
okay.
him.
We can rebuild him. So, yeah.
Good. What do you think on an ongoing basis? What's the most rewarding part about working with another human being to make art versus just trying to do it by yourself?
That's a good question. I think you go, please. I've been answering first
No,
every
I
time.
mean,
Please, God,
no, I
answer
mean,
first.
no, it's always better when you answer first. But I mean, for me, and I think you know, Joseph, you mentioned like we were pretty well suited for this. Like it has been a huge adjustment. You know, I miss being in the same room. You know, there's always a magic that happens there. But I think for us, at least for me, one of the most rewarding things is we come, the way we create music together is a lot of handoff. Even when we were together in the same room, it was a lot of here's what I've done, and then we kind of hand it back and forth to each other, and just trust that the other person's going to treat that with care and respect. Being on different sides of the world, we still have that, and still the most rewarding thing is just seeing you react to something that I've done that you've created, and creating something new from that, and seeing your reaction to that process is definitely the most rewarding. It feels like these tiny gifts that we give back and forth to each other, all the time.
Or cry again. Yeah, no, that's really it. Like, just when that moment of like, I saw what you were creating. Here's what it made me feel. Here's what I thought it needed. And now what else do you think it needs? And like, after 6 years of doing that in some form or another, I feel like we've gotten really good at like intuiting a little bit like what the other person is going for. Like, I know you're joking, Ben, about saying like, well, I only kind of cut up your song and like kind of totally changed it. Like,
Right.
we have like, I'm just realizing this in the moment, like that used to be a pretty normal thing that we would do. Like, even on like our 2023 record, there was a couple moments where I'd come over and Jordan would be like, I know it's the saddest song you've ever written, but now it's a dance banger. I'm sorry.
It's a bop.
It's a bop. That's all there is to it. And I feel like we've gotten into a really good rhythm where there's so much less of that, and it's so much like, oh, you understood what I was going for from the get-go here, or I was able to see what you were trying to achieve here. And like, yeah, getting to see your own art or intention like reflected back at you as something bigger than you ever imagined it could
Yes.
be, or something that you're not capable of making, whether it's like through skill sets or imagination or what, but just like saying like, wow, I had thought this was going to be something, and then you made it even better, but still like not on the same track that it needed to be on, but like something so much bigger than I ever imagined. And that is just like such a beautiful feeling, and it feels like something so much bigger than the sum of its parts, and like so much, it makes me believe in it more, honestly. Like, when I make music by myself, I'm just like, this is my song, whatever, and now I'm like, me and Jordan making music, I'm like, this is beautiful art and it deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm more confident about it. Like, I
Yeah.
believe in it so much more, because it is just like, it's not just a reflection of me. It's like a reflection of people and collaborating and friendship and love and what?
It makes the less fun aspects of the business of music actually bearable, because you're like, not only did I make this, and everybody is self-conscious about saying, no, I'm good at the thing that I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a creative partner or a band full of creative partners, and you're like, Jordan did the coolest and sickest thing on this song. And so that actually kind of gives you an insanity to just be able to be like, everyone should listen to this, and I'm no longer self-conscious about rejection, or at least to the same extent, right?
%. Yeah, I'm always just like, I don't know if what I would have written should have been heard by the world, but this shit that Jordan did, I need everyone to hear it immediately, so we're putting it out.
I want to talk about enthusiasm for a second. One of the things that I love about the way that you interact with online spaces is that you are somebody, like, you put together a playlist every week.
Yeah.
For songs that you're listening to, new songs, old songs, and you're just an enthusiast for good art and good music. That's really refreshing, because there's so much stuff in the world to be disappointed about and to be frustrated with, and there's so much stuff in not only the external world but my internal life that's just like struggle to manifest enthusiasm some days, like you don't want to get out of bed, right? And so tell me a little bit about where enthusiasm comes from for you and how you have an outlet with it. Is your enthusiasm kind of like my enthusiasm, where it's a wave, a roller coaster, where it like ebbs and flows? But just reflect a little bit about being an enthusiastic person.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think anyone's really described me as enthusiastic, and I agree with that completely. Like, I I get like golden retriever or like too happy, joyful kind of stuff a lot, where people are just like, Jesus, you're really like that in person. That's crazy. And
I feel like they're responding like that's a problem, and I'm like, that's the best thing that anyone could ever do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I can come up a little intense because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I love looking at it as enthusiasm because that's really what it is. And especially for music, like I just believe in music more than literally anything because I think I believe in people more than anything, and people make music. And it is just like the purest, most like connective tissue that exists. And when especially when there's so much shit that's so divisive and so many things you can argue about, not that you can't argue about music. I love to be a hater every once in a while, but it's just like this thing that is just so, we're gonna do it. You can't stop us from doing it. You can make it the hardest thing to do in the world. You can make it so inaccessible. You could sell away all of our rights and everything I ever made to the biggest AI bullshit companies in the world, and we're still gonna do it. We're still gonna make music. And I think that that is just like the simplest, most pure form of just like the heart of people, where it's just like, no, where you can't lose hope because look at what we do all the time. There's so much of it all the time. And I just like can't, I don't know what it is about music specifically, but like when people talk about like, oh, I feel really drawn to this passionate career or this thing, it's usually like not even my own music that I'm making. I'm just like, but listening to music, that's how I feel about listening to music. I'm just like,
Have
I
you
want to
heard
talk
music?
about it. Have you heard music? How does anybody have time to do literally anything else?
yeah.
This is crazy. There's so much of it. So it just does feel like a very natural state for me to just be like so excited about it. I just grew up going to a lot of shows and talking about music. If you ever meet my father, I think a lot of this will make sense because he's the same sort of absolute nutso about music, and we'll just like talk about music all day with you. And he like, sees a Frank Zappa record from across the store that he hasn't seen and like dances over to it and wants to talk about everybody in the store.
I love him.
You would. He's a very lovable guy. But I feel like I come by it genetically maybe a little bit also. But truly it's just like there's so many different kinds, and the music that I make I love, and love making music with Jordan. But it's like I can only make like so many kinds and so many things. So just like being a champion of like all the different types of music there are, and like other bands making it, because everybody makes it so different and everybody has such a unique relationship to how music shows up for them. Like I think it can't be an isolated experience. You have to like consider the ecosystem and everybody that's making it around you and all the different types that people are making. Like you can't, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Totally.
I love
For
to
sure.
describe it
Yeah.
as enthusiasm because I feel very seen.
And it's also nice. I like being around enthusiastic people because it gives me permission to be enthusiastic myself, and it gives me sort of like, there was a while in sort of like indie rock culture where everybody was like trying to be aloof and too cool and just not actually care about anything. And so anytime I actually interact with
Crossing
somebody,
your arms at the show.
yeah, exactly. just being the worst version of yourself you can be.
Yeah.
But I love interacting with someone who's also jazzed about stuff, and especially because being jazzed for me sometimes feels like I'm constantly afraid that my fire is just going to go out. You know what I mean? Because it's like I've got the fire, and that is like the core of me is to be on fire. But like I think there's so many things in the world that just want to put that tries to put that fire out, right? And so to
Absolutely.
re-enkindle each other, why not become all flame? Like it helps. It helps me personally. So thank you for being that way that you are.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many opportunities to like get beat down by life in a way that you like fear you're never going to get back up from. And in my experience, the thing that always is like a constant source of like ways to ignite that fire is music, and talking about music, and like being able to joyfully talk about it with other people. I'm just like, I can always depend on that. Like if I could be having the worst week of my life and Friday comes around and there's new releases and I get to send bullshit to people I love and be like, hey, listen to this, you're going to love this. Like I can always rely on that. And if I'm incapable, if I'm incapacitated in one of those days that I'm not able to get out of bed, I know that somebody that I have done that to is going to send me some bullshit that I'm going to love.
Right.
And I'm like, we are all just like passing around all this wonderful bullshit all together to each other all the time. And it's magic. And it's like, you can always count on it.
Mm.
And maybe that's delusional, but I'm fully bought in.
Yeah.
Jordan, would
Love
you
it.
add anything?
As somebody who tries to stay off the internet, I love that I have Josie as a creative partner to geek out about all of these things with, and just like we've talked a lot about being musical partners in our songwriting process, but I mean this is also how we are songwriting partners. I tend to be not aloof, but maybe more socially anxious, and so the fact that I have someone like Josie to communicate both of our enthusiasm for us at times is a gift, an absolute gift.
It is such an important honor role in my life. I'm just like, nope, it is important for me to make sure Jordan is heard and you feel what he's feeling. Like sometimes your
Truly, I'm so
translator, if you're
lucky.
too sleepy or grumpy or something, and I'm just like, no, it's cool, I got this. But
Ben
you
and
do
I
the same for
somewhat
me.
work this way too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty socially anxious, but there's something about it's like how you can more easily be excited about what a band or a duo or a collective has done than like your own thing. I feel that I ride the band's energy in like social situations too.
Yeah.
Like I go on stage with the bravery that I don't have by myself, which I've gotten better at. But
Yeah, absolutely.
And you also,
Truly.
I think we all also interact at shows with more bravery and less social awkwardness.
Yeah.
Because it's just, everything's easier when you got your wingman, you know?
absolutely.
And when you just
100%.
have somebody that if there's a lull in conversation, they'll pick it up a little bit, or if you just need to tap out from the merch table conversations or whatever, it's like you've got 3 other folks behind you that can like own some of that weight too.
Yeah, absolutely. After
Josie is
playing
all
like
3.
solo and after playing solo for a really long time in my life, once Jordan and I started playing shows together, that was like something I didn't really know I was missing in such a big way. I was like, wait a minute, we can do this part together. We
Yes.
can like you can go do this and I can go deal with drink tickets and you can go do this thing, and like that it was just like, oh my God, we need
Division
this.
of labor.
We
Yeah.
need to divide this labor up. This is bullshit. I'm never doing this by myself again.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about Utah? So we've played in Salt Lake twice now. 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. More than we've played any other city in the United States besides Denver, Colorado.
That's true, actually.
Yeah. We played with May when they did those Destination Beautiful, not Beautiful Letdown. That's Switchfoot.
Everglow.
Everglow, yeah. Destination Beautiful Letdown is the. But we played with May for those 2 dates at Kilby, which is this classic DIY space that everybody and their mother and their brother has played at, right? That you would want to. So that felt good for us. And then we also played that Switchfoot show for Beautiful Letdown. That's what Freud was thinking. But then we also played at a pizza place that we played with Tiger Bike, Celebration Guns, and who's the third? Choice Coin, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wild Pepper Pizza.
I'm gonna say Wild Pepper Pizza. I don't think they do shows there anymore. That was like a very specific, like 2 summers that they were hosting shows at
They
Wild Pepper
100%
Pizza.
did not want us to play a show there.
No, they didn't want anybody to play shows there.
There was no toilet. They like willfully took the toilet paper out of the bathroom. I think when the show was about to start, they were like, "No, people should not be there. They should poop elsewhere."
We don't encourage that kind of behavior.
Yeah. But Salt Lake, from the little bit that certainly Salt Lake City feels like such a strange but cool town. We had some of the best ramen that I've ever had at Asher's ramen place. What's Asher's place called?
Yoko Ramen.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the best ramen I've ever had. Some of the best coffee. My God. that I've ever had. And so that feels very adjacent to what I love about Denver in that there's good breweries and coffee shops and all that sort of stuff. What is Salt Lake City and Utah in general like as a music scene? What could be better? And what is beautiful that needs to be deepened and cultivated as a music scene?
I love this question. I have grown to really, really love the Salt Lake City music scene. I think it goes, like any scene, it goes through ups and downs of being really exciting and creative and connected. And right now feels so special to me in a way that is really exciting. We have like a really rich group of like ambient and like drone musicians that like are just really community minded, and like we have like a couple of different of like boutique sort of production folks that are like just hosting shows anywhere they can. So we've just like got this new culture that's kind of just bubbled up over the last couple of years of just like more shows in local businesses, more shows in alleyways, more shows in people's houses, more DIY stuff, but really promoted and really professional with like a professional sound person. And like we're taking it seriously and we're like taking care of each other.
Beautiful.
And it's just so cool to see so many different genres come up through that, where it's just like, okay, you've got a bill with like really cool drone artist and then like some classical guitar and then like an indie punk band and then like so many different genres that are being connected through that sort of effort around booking shows is really, really beautiful and exciting to see. Also, I feel like it's a really young scene right now too. Like when I was growing up in the scene, it was like a bunch of like folky Americana bros. And that was kind of like the only thing that was happening. It was
Some
just like
stomping, some clapping.
so much stomping and so much clapping in every direction. And like, not to talk shit on that, because I cut my teeth like singing backups for a lot of stomp clap stuff. Like that was a little bit my.
I love stomp clap.
It can be fun.
Yeah,
It can be
yeah.
fun. Like you feel the music. You're like, this is what. Yeah, I see that. I feel the spirit of the stomp clap here in the room with us tonight.
What a Utah thing to say.
So I think that that's probably the thing that I would say that I hope I continue to see happening, and I'm like trying to regularly support and promote those shows because they are smaller shows, they're younger bands, newer bands, like just getting started, trying to play more stuff. But they're really accessible. They're usually like $5 to $10 tickets. They are in places that are not 21 and up. They are all ages venues. So it's like
Awesome.
it feels like something that I have my like laser vision on right now, as far as like this shit. I need it to keep happening. I need this like fan these flames, please. We cannot stop this. So that's really
so long
beautiful
overdue.
and exciting. Totally, because like Kilby Court, speaking of like the small, wonderful little venue that it is our only all ages venue. It's pretty tiny. It's goes through phases of like different. It's every few years somebody's like, they're gonna tear down Kilby Court, and everybody freaks out, and then they don't. But then it's got like a fresh coat of paint the next week, so we're like, okay, it's here to stay for at least another 5 years. We're fine. But like that, to put all of your like my whole all ages community is like reliant on this one venue that gets huge acts coming through all the time, that they sell out touring bands for there all the time. So it's not really accessible to local bands as often as it used to be. So seeing this place where like younger bands can come up, build a following, bring people to their shows and promote their stuff and learn how to play shows that way is like so beautiful, and I'm obsessed with it. And I love that it's not just one person that's doing it. It's like a few different people that are really clued in to the local scene, that are like really putting in effort and time to make that happen.
Yeah, that's always been the missing piece in Salt Lake, is that like Kilby Court was and to some extent still is like, you know, like the centerpiece of like DIY and indie music in Salt Lake. And, you know, similar to you, Josie, it was like, I mean, my high school band played there all the time. It was like, that's where I met everyone, all my musical contacts, everyone I know in music at Kilby Court.
First beer, first cigarette, I had all those at Kilby Court.
Yeah, at Kilby Court.
Wild.
It is an all ages venue. This was all, you know, but yeah, right.
Contraband.
But like, I guess maybe not to get too specific, but you know, because so much of the booking in Salt Lake is kind of dominated by, you know, by one real entity that like, yeah, it wasn't really until I got older that I realized like, oh, like there are some things about, like, I was really lucky to have Kilby Court but growing up, and I'm really grateful for it, but there's always been this need for like more voices, more spaces, and it feels like it's really just barely starting to kind of blossom out that way.
Yeah, totally. And I think that like maybe the thing that I hope doesn't like squish that at all is getting like really niche again. I'm obsessed with the cross genre bill. Like I love playing shows with like emo bands
Yeah.
and punk bands. I just think I love a curated show where everyone's so similar, but I also really love when people are really different and you get like totally different groups and folks out to things. And I think that like enjoying live music is such a universal thing that people love that I like hope we don't get too pinholed in like this is this scene, because like Salt Lake has like a pretty big hardcore scene that's like thriving and beautiful, and it's really important that we have that. But I also know that there's like folks that go to a hardcore show like every other night that have like they have no idea what other bands exist, and like I am guilty of that too sometimes, where I'm like I don't know what punk bands are around right now because I'm like in my little kind of more niche indie world. So I hope that we're able to like continue to reach across genres and like make sure we don't get too isolated in those worlds.
Yeah.
Keep them because they're an important part of like individuality, but I also hope that we're able to kind of keep them connected and keep these like cross threads going where we all recognize that we're all doing the same thing. It just sounds different in the moment, so we can all help each other out.
I feel like that's important as a young musician too. Like to, if you hear something that's like, whoa, I've never witnessed anything like this at a mixed genre show,
Yeah,
mixed bill show, that can be like totally life changing.
100%.
We've played some bills that like don't make a super ton of sense. I think these days they mostly do, but like
Yeah.
there's been a few where it's like we're like by far the softest band, and then we play, we used to close with this like borderline a cappella song, and that was like it was kind of surprising how often people came up and were like, I cried.
Yeah,
And that could be cool.
absolutely. The contrast like fuels it too, and I think that's
Mhm.
so important. And people are, in their own little world and they know what they like. But I also think that can really add to a lot of the problems that we have today. Is just like people staying in their own little
Mhm.
bubble and their own little echo chamber of like, I know what I like and I don't like to be uncomfortable, so I'm not going to go to other stuff.
Yeah.
So like exposing people to different genres of things, like it's like upping their capacity to like try out something new
Yeah.
and like experience something a little bit different. Like sneaking in some like, yeah, their capacity and like resilience for other stuff. But it's like you might
Yes.
hate this. You might hate this so much, but at least you know, and at least you had a good time and now you know.
And there's so many barriers for most people to like show up to shows, period.
Yeah.
That it's easy then because there's, with all social events and all sort of artistic creative spaces, there's always this discomfort, tension that we're trying to manage. Like we're trying to, even in, the way that guitar music is structured and melody is structured, we do want the comfort of, okay, we're going to go 4, 5, 6 minor, and then we're going to, like that's going to be our favorite, and there's something really nice about knowing what to expect, or at least having a little bit of a blanket of like, and both the hardcore dude that only shows up to hardcore shows or the indie folk person that only shows up to indie folk shows, like there's a comfort in that because you know the scene or whatever. But if we can figure out ways to safely and warmly and really gently push that discomfort in a good way, I think it's better for all of us. It's better for the music makers, but it's also certainly better for someone who's like a music fan, because like at this point, the algorithm on whatever streaming service you're getting, if that's where you're primarily relying on getting new music from, it's going to push a carbon copy of the same thing that you already like
Totally.
forever, right?
100%. And it's how it's so easy now to just get stuck in your little world of like, well, I only listen to the same 10 songs I listened to in high school, or I only listen to like this genre. And like that just does not compute in my brain. And I want to fight against it in every iteration that I possibly can. I'm just like, what do you mean there's so much stuff out there? And it's like, I'm going to love a Place for Owls song if it's on a playlist that I've made that fits a specific feeling I get on a specific day in September, and I'm moody and this is the feeling and it's perfect. But imagine how much I'm also going to appreciate that same song if it's after I just sat through 2 hours of like crazy hardcore shit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's going to be this like
Yeah.
refreshing, beautiful thing of just like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, the context of this made it such a different experience that I think is
Mhm.
really beautiful to promote and encourage right now.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why we started the Holy Fool nonprofit is because it is hard. There's so many factors that make writing songs and recording songs and publishing songs, playing shows live, make all that hard. And we're living in an age where it's harder and harder to monetize your creative work, where we used to be able to play a show and you knew that you would sell 25 CDs, and that would mean that you would have gas money to go to the next place, or that you would have a little seed money to write and record and produce the next thing that you were working on. You know, physical media and other ways to for fans to directly, like, here's a $20 bill, hand me some music. That just like is disappearing in the way that it used to exist, right? And so I want to talk a little bit about your personal perspective on some of the struggle that you experience as a band, a songwriter. And then the second part of the question is, we have to imagine a better world that we can, through collective action and culture change amongst our friends and then the friends of friends, we can change in a meaningful way the world as it exists for working musicians. But also that's a long and hard process that sometimes I'm just like, let me dream big on the big picture stuff, but then let me think, with my 50 friends that I see every month, what can I do to actually recreate a culture that's actually more supportive for working musicians, more supportive for those who are trying to be vulnerable in songwriting. So what struggles do you see and experience? And then how could a community in Salt Lake or online or whatever help in some of those struggles, both a community of fans and a community of other bands and songwriters?
I love that question. I love what you guys are doing with Holy Fool. It feels very timely, very helpful, because it's not a viable career option to be a musician. It really doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. You're not gonna be not worrying about where your next paycheck is coming from if you do choose to go down that path. And there's just like there are so many different relationships that people can have to how they fit it into their life. And what's worked for me and for Jordan in our project for the last several years is not the ideal. Like, I wish it was different, but I think the difference would have to be like capitalism goes away. So it's like we've
Yep.
that would be really nice. That would be really beautiful. But the reality is
It's
that
not going to happen. Yeah.
it's not going to happen. We got to figure out something else. Like, so our project is funded by like probably 80% by my day job. And then the rest of it is like whatever little bits we get from like cool shows that we might play, or album sales gets just like fed directly back into it, or merch sales if we end up doing that. But it's so expensive to make a record, and especially like even DIY, something Jordan and I do where we're not going in a studio, it's still thousands of dollars to like make sure people that are mixing and mastering and performing on it, and we're producing it in the physical media that we want. It's so much money, and you never like, and it's an inconsistent way of like payment and expectations on like how to, because everybody handles it differently. I will like try and force people that play on the record to take my money, and sometimes they won't. And then other people are like, I've dabbled and now that'll be $1,000. Thank you. Like, it's always different. Like, everyone has such a different relationship to money and how they value their labor around music and creating, especially if you're like in the DIY space, and especially if it's like, this isn't how I make money, so I value it really differently. And that's a really hard thing, and you have to like kind of consistently be like, okay, well, what are my values here? What is the effort here? Like, and sometimes it can feel like you get kind of trapped. I know I sometimes feel a little trapped at my day job because I'm just like, it's how I pay for this. Like I couldn't do this in the same capacity if I didn't work this, but then also how much time and energy is going into like the working 40 hours a week that is not going into the music. And there's like so many different combinations of ways that people have like made that work for themselves, and whether that's a day job or working in the service industry or figuring out ways to like tap into existing fan bases through things like Patreon and stuff like that. It's something where every time I think too hard about it, I think I kind of melt down a little bit. Or I'm just like, especially where growing up and when I kind of first started in my music world, I've never really looked at music to be like a viable, like, this is how I'm going to make money or I'm going to make any money off of it. So I just never even put it into that bucket. And I've always just been like, I make negative dollars over here, but it's like I do it for joy. But as I've gotten older and like respected the craft more and work with people like Jordan, who I'm like, you are putting so much of your like skilled effort and labor into this project, and like other people that are doing that too, I'm just like, no, this is work. Like, I have to shift how I value it also. So I do, like, I'm in a weird place with it too, where I'm just like, this is not sustainable, but also like, how do I get past whatever weird hiccup I have internally that's saying just like, you shouldn't make people give you money for your art. And it's just like, okay, but you're putting your own money into the art. So like, how do you figure out what the right thing to do is with that? So it's a hurdle because it's expensive. And it's like every year I'm like, all right, well, hopefully my car doesn't break down, or like my dog doesn't need to go to the vet because like I'm a little bit in debt until I can like sell this merch that I just made or just put on my credit card, or like figure out how because you just don't know. You don't know. You can't say, well, I spent this much money on making merch or making vinyl and I know I'm going to get that back, because it doesn't work that way. You're like, I hope I get a very small percentage of this back and somebody cool likes it. That's my goal for this investment that I'm putting thousands of dollars into right now. So
and just the fact that there's no right answer either. Like, because when we met, we were both working very corporate America jobs, and like this was the thing that we were passionate about, and like this is how we like escaped from that other reality. And like I mean, I quit my job to move to Japan. I'm incredibly lucky, like, for the opportunity that I have, where I am supported financially by my partner here, but now being on the other side of it too, like it does not go away. In some ways it's worse than having a corporate job. Like being on this razor's edge, and you know, it's and now it's not even my money that I'm spending on my art. It's like our money. And you know, similarly, if something happens with Josie, if something happens with us here, like, you know, that could make or break whether or not we even get to like promote a record or cut it to vinyl or something. So I mean, not to be too doomer, I guess, but it's kind of the nature
I asked the question. I want you to, you always got to, at the hero's arc, the third act, it's like you got to go a little bit down.
We're in the pit.
And then now we got to figure out, I feel like clockwork, every 3 years I go through like some sort of major crisis. It's job loss, or, you know, it's like we wrote the whole second record after my wife and I went through a miscarriage. It's like there's just so much like bull that you go through. And a buddy named Dave, he literally drew on a whiteboard. We were just hanging out, and he said, your life is going like this, and it's going down into the valley. And one of the things that you will want to do is do everything you can to just stabilize. But you've actually got a lot of momentum. You're actually like, you're desperate enough to ask some questions about your life that you've maybe never asked before. You're like receptive enough that if the universe needs to do something different with your life than what you've been sort of plugging away at, you're just like, boom. And you can actually channel that momentum to just like a roller coaster, just go, wee, you know?
Yeah.
And then kind of move up. So we're asking for doom, but we are trying to think in our collective imagination, what could we do both in our, I think about social change or like sort of any sort of systemic thing. It's really small alternative communities who just do that thing rightly. And then enough small alternative communities do that thing rightly to the point where it just sort of bubbles up and becomes viral. And then all of a sudden, the whole culture of a region, a city, God forbid, a nation or a world have changed, right? So please continue your reflections, Jordan. Don't feel like you're bumming us out. I want to hear.
I mean, yeah, right. But I guess that is like the biggest thing, right? Is being able to stay flexible enough to, to keep dreaming big, but not let the lack of perceived progress like deter you from those small acts, right? Like I don't think there's like, one right thing for any person at any given time. Like sometimes you just have to, sometimes you just have to listen. I feel like so many of my friends are just like, I mean, getting away from music a little bit, but like I wrote the short story and I just wish any of my friends would read it. And like, and so it's like, obviously the answer is not, oh, just like listen to your friend's music. But like, I guess, if that's all you've got that day, then maybe that is it. And being aware and present enough to do something more when the opportunity presents itself, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
it's so what you're talking about just reminds me so much of just this like it takes this constant practice of like adjusting what success looks like to you and like what your own benchmarks are for yourself because we live in this world that values like excessive output and like constant massive streaming numbers. And like, if you're not booking cool tours, then are you really taking yourself seriously? And it's just like some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life are people that have like never done anything that wasn't like a DIY project and they haven't toured. Like, I know you guys just had Arthur from Phones with Chords on here, and I'm just like people like that where I'm just like, you are one of the most successful musicians in my brain because you're like so authentic to your songwriting that you do. And you're just like constantly putting out what is right for you to put out. And it is this like regular practice of, if you're a musician, of just being like, I don't have any control over like what making it looks like. So I have to find in my heart where making it actually like resonates and lives. And like nothing wrong with like wanting to go chase big dreams and like become a part of a bigger music industry, but like what is the most accessible and like what can you live with yourself with? Like, how do you define that in your own brain and in your own heart to where like you reached the mark and that you like accomplished what you wanted to do, whether that's like 10 of my friends listened to this, or like we did this differently than we did on the last album and that was our benchmark and we wanted to do this differently. And it's just like finding those places and like knowing that you have at least a small handful of people that believe in you. Like I have to do that with myself all the time. Like I found myself like a couple of years ago, every time I'd get like somebody buying like a single or like one of my older records on Bandcamp, I would just be like, that's so funny. Like that's what, like 30 cents. Cool, thanks. And then I had to stop and be like, somebody went to my Bandcamp page, liked my song somewhere enough out in the world that they went and like took a moment of their like precious 8-hour day where companies are spending millions of dollars to get their attention. And somehow they were like, I'm going to go give this person $1 because I love their music.
Yeah.
I had to like really, really sit with myself and be like, brain, you have to celebrate this. Like, this is huge. This is monumental. And I think like just being able to adjust your expectations of what you're getting out of your art. And if you're finding yourself feeling really disheartened and being able to say like, why am I doing this then? Like, because if I'm basing it all on stuff that I have no control over, I'm gonna continue to get disappointed because like
Mhm.
the limit does not exist with how many things will disappoint you out there in the world.
Yes.
So like all you could do is get right with yourself and what you want your success to look like, and like having a small audience, even if it's just of like 2 people that come to your show sometimes, like that's success. Like that is
Yeah.
incredible.
We worked on a song this weekend, and one of the lines was literally, "What can I control? Devote myself to a craft, kick myself in the ass."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's just, I can just
that's
focus on,
100% it.
yeah, just I'm going to devote myself to this craft, and then occasionally I'm just going to kick my own butt about it to kind of get my tush in gear, because it's easy to get sideways about it.
Absolutely. And I think kind of to your point about like what can we ask of our communities and our like current fan bases or our current scenes, like I think it's like to like value our own art and our own time enough to like know that it's worth other people giving their like time and money to it. Like I recently read, I can't remember the author's name, but I read a book called Death of the Artist. Real chipper
Doomer.
I
but
recommended that one.
yeah,
Classic.
we gotta bring that enthusiasm down, bro. But he talked so much about how like this comparison between like having a group of like 20 people that care about your music over the span of like 5 years can like financially and emotionally support you more than like a moment of virality that you get seen by like 1 million views or whatever on TikTok. 'Cause it's like our music isn't for everybody, but I know it's for the handful of people that have decided it's for them, that continue to show up at shows, that continue to buy our songs and our records. And like, how can I make sure I'm always taking care of them? How can I see them? How can I hear them? How can I learn their names? How can I say thank you? How can I make this like a viable, helpful, community-based relationship where it's not based on exploitation, it's based on a relationship and support that we move forward together?
Yeah.
Because that is going to be a more worthwhile place for my energy and time than like trying to make 1 million TikToks and get like traction some way of somebody that would pay attention to 30 minutes of one of my songs who would probably never, or 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. But yeah, it's just like being able to adjust how you measure support, who you're valuing, how you're valuing them, how you see their relationship, not as exploitative, but as really like reciprocal and as part of the community of like, I'm giving you this art, you are giving me your support. That's fucking beautiful. It is not a like a negative power dynamic. It is like a balance in the ecosystem that we gotta like cherish with each other.
Yeah. That was your one
Yeah.
F word that you just did.
Okay, did it count? Did
It did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A master class.
That was we're still PG-13 because we get one.
Okay, I must have blacked out because I don't remember saying it at all.
Yeah, honestly,
Perfection.
I'm so glad that you like are keeping count, because I've thought this whole time, I was like, I don't know what count I'm on. Like, I don't know if I've
It's
said
been,
it like
we've
5
been zero.
times.
That's just, we've just said that was our first F word. Yeah.
That's my job. I sit here with a notebook and just tally.
Yeah.
Josaleigh's F words. I know I said bullshit like 10 times. I'm so
no,
sorry.
but like
That's fair game.
within, there was like 7 within 30 seconds. Yeah, that was, it's a good ratio.
It's trying to set a record.
Yeah. Well, I love
beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
So
Nick.
good.
Nick, did you have another thought or question or anything?
I think, well, there have been several episodes so far where I think I've tried to articulate that sort of the need to recalibrate when it comes to how you measure success. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it as eloquently as what you just did, Josaleigh. So that was
Thank you.
like very moving. Yeah. Thank you.
I will cry for the 3rd time now on this podcast.
Well, my last question that I want to ask is, what are you listening to lately that is blowing your socks off, that's blowing your mind? What singles, EPs, albums are you just obsessed with?
Out of Salt Lake, I mean, who? Rachel Jenkins. I mean, speaking of mixed bills, I think all the time about that show we played with Nadezhda. Am I saying that name right?
Nadezhda. You got to do the like
Nadezhda.
They're such a
Nadezhda.
sick hardcore like punk indie band here in Salt Lake. That's so good.
Is it named after Stalin's wife?
Maybe. That's
Good question.
That could be
You're
very
asking the
accurate.
right questions, Nick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're so good. I'm also obsessed with another Salt Lake band called Strog. It's Strog.
Oh my god.
It's
Strog.
this couple. He plays guitar, she plays drums, and they both sing. And it is so emotional and fun and exciting. And it's like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with it. They're so good.
And they themselves, Laura and Cody, are just the best people. Yeah, Strog.
Just really good. I love Strog. I think about Strog all the time. I'm kind of obsessed with so many bands in Salt Lake right now. Like there's another band called Molotov Dress that has been putting out some new stuff. They're really fun, like kind of like post-punk, but there's like a trumpet player. I watched them do a full set while a makeup artist went from each one of the band members and did their makeup live while the band played.
Yes.
While also a band was playing, or two people were playing a chess game in the middle of the stage while the band was playing around it. And their music's so fun, and they're also just like the sweetest baby boys that I've ever met in my life. I'm in love with every single one of them. And then I've been on a perpetual Destroyer kick for like the last 3 years that I literally cannot stop. Every time I'm like, what do I listen to today? It's always Destroyer.
What's your favorite Destroyer record? Because I've never actually listened to Destroyer. So give me a record that you think might hit me.
It's so hard to answer that question because I love so many, but either Kaput or Destroyer's Rubies are my two top. But also the last 3 that he's released have been in like my top the top albums of that year. Like he really can do no wrong in my book.
Yeah, Kaput for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Ken's so good.
Yes, that one.
There's so many good ones.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. Man, who else? I feel like I've been listening to This Is Lorelei for years at this point. It's just like I can't stop listening to that record. Them and I've been so into Lots of Hands discography. I don't know if anyone knows Lots of Hands, but
no.
They're like UK. Yeah, they're like a UK-based band, really just like sweetie, lo-fi, but like interesting electronic kind of stuff. That's Lots of Hands, right? I'm thinking about the right thing. Okay. Sometimes I get my wires crossed. I listen to too much music.
I mean, those are bands that are still currently. I feel like lately more than anything, I've been listening to like Livonia and Portishead and just some oddball.
So good.
Our bassist is always playing the Portishead live record in the when we drive places. I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Ryan, our bassist, is our resident like weirdo oddball. Like we all like the avant-garde and the strange. I think some of us more than others. But Ryan's like, yes, sounds weird. Great, let's go.
Yeah, I feel like I appreciate that very much about Ryan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Roseland, New York City. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So we've got one single out, right? Can you tease where we're going as the Josaleigh Pollett band?
Yeah. So we've been so deeply in the weeds of production on this new album for most of the last year. We like really kicked off writing it. Jordan came back and visited back in May of 2025 and was here for like a month. We were practicing to play the big festival here in Salt Lake called Kilby Block Party.
Mm-hmm.
But we just
crazy festival, by the way.
Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
it's like super fun too.
You got this year you got Rilo Kiley, right? And Death Cab for Cutie. And did you get Postal Service as well? Or was that last year?
It was 2 years ago. We got the Postal Service, Death Cab.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my God, Transatlanticism, like 20-year, and then the Postal Service. Oh yeah, it was unreal.
Dude,
but
nothing prepares you for just seeing Jenny Lewis like fly past you on the back of a golf cart.
Oh my God.
Like on a random like Thursday.
It was too much for me, bro.
Wow.
I was the most nervous I've ever been in my life. And then I saw her and I was like, I don't think I could play, actually. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Did you see from afar or did you get a chance to be adjacent?
She just she was on the golf cart and was probably like 10 feet in front of us. And you just see her hair flowing behind her. And I'm like, dude, that was Jenny Lewis. Oh my God.
That's nuts.
Yeah. It was like 2 seconds. And there were so many of those, not to take up too much time, but like walking into the press room for like to meet with like which on the note of everything we talked about, I'm so grateful for, but some tiny internet music blog or something like that, style. And like, just kind of like out of the corner of my eye, I just see like hair and leather. and it's like, is like Justice like in the corner of the room over there, like actually talking to like, Vogue magazine or something like that?
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, it was a wild
exciting.
experience. It was so much fun. Basically, since then, Jordan and I took advantage of that time of him being here and like hashed out a lot of the stuff that we felt like we needed to write in person because we had a lot of ideas kind of bubbling through. And we've been able to take that and basically been working nonstop on a new record that we're so close to knowing what we're doing with. Like
I
we've
mean,
just
you say that except for it's like 90% mixed. We're like one song away from like actually finishing it. But
yes,
it does feel that way where it's like, what? I don't know what we made. We made something.
we made something.
I think
That's
I'll,
so
I'll
exciting
know
to
it
me.
better in 6 months. Yeah.
Do you please don't tell me that you've got an instinct to make and then shelve, right? Like do you typically make and then just put out even if you're like, I don't understand this yet, but like you're still going to put it out, right?
Unfortunately, I am incredibly impulsive, and sitting on a record is not something that I can do very well unless
Yeah,
somebody has
okay.
given me a very good reason to do it. If it's
Good.
done, I'm like, I gotta show everybody. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
good. Praise be. Like that,
Yeah.
there's some of my favorite songwriters of all time that just they'll sit on crap for like 6 or 8 years and then just like, and then I'm like, but you sent me a demo, man. You sent me a demo. Where's that
Right.
song?
Yeah. And I get it. I get it that it's a gnarly process. It takes time.
Right.
But I also think that there's like a realm of timing that you have to be aware of. And it's like, if I don't get all of this piece of it done now, I'm not going to feel connected to this art when I put it out. And I think
Yes.
that's an important part for me too, is like,
You
I
gotta
want it
feel
to
urgent about
feel relevant. I want it to feel like of me. It's like, okay, well, now I got to start playing shows on these songs. So I better like them. I better
Right.
know who I was when I was writing them.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's so hard to go back to, like, I feel like there's a cycle sometimes where it's like, if I go back to something I wrote 10 years ago, then maybe I have fun writing, like singing it and playing it again. But in that like 5 years ago sweet spot, you're like, I don't want to
Get
deal
outta
with
here.
this shit.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that person.
Yeah, no, this is not a person I'm aware of anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, everything we said about not knowing what we're making it's really just more like after making out, so many records either by ourselves or together, in this capacity. It really is just that thing of like, especially with this record, because it feels a little more eclectic than some of the last, definitely the last record, I think, and a little more reaching, a little more ambitious in terms of like what
Let's go.
the sound. It really is just that feeling of like, I know what I think this is, and in 6 months I'm going to listen back to it, and it's either going to be all so much more clear to me, like what it was that we were creating in that space and time. Like, yeah, there's like a clarity that comes that like we do not
Totally.
have maybe right this moment,
Yeah.
but we're making something.
And that
So
something
exciting.
will see the light of day. That's amazing.
Yes, that's the plan.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for like first half of this year, but we
Okay.
shall see. The
Yeah.
DIY world. It's like,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Mhm.
especially if you're just doing digital or CDs or cassette tapes, the turnaround times are relatively quick and you can just like, oh, it's done, and then in 6 weeks it's out, But like if you're actually trying to press to vinyl, that is
Yeah.
a complicated amount of logistics to figure out. I'm excited. I told you this when we were offline at the start of the call, but it's got my favorite chord progression of all time, which is the Wicked Game chord progression. Like I
Yeah.
love just that the 2 minor, whatever that is, 2 minor 1 5, or like is it in E? Is it in A? We don't know. Like it's
Yeah.
it's like it's both somehow.
I think it's in. We maybe switch it at some point too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I love it. And
I'm so glad.
And I love that you also did the work of giving In the Garden by the Weeds that sort of remix, sort of like
Yeah.
just could revisit one of my favorite records that I have heard from anybody that I've met from the internet.
hmm
I so deeply was moved by that In the Garden by the Weeds record. Even though like we're not the same person, we don't have the same sort of lived experience, but there was so much that I found of myself in that record, which was really meaningful to me. So thank you for doing it. I'm stoked for the next thing.
that means so much to hear that. I feel the same when I listen to your songs. So that means a lot. It feels good to find all these different ways where we can like digest and spit out similar ideas and be like, oh, we were chewing on some of the same stuff, and look at all these crazy ways that we threw it out there. And I love that.
Yeah, I think about Kurt Vonnegut in the Cat's Cradle book. He says, whenever you see the universe conspiring around you, you say, busy, busy, busy. And there's just so much like busy, busy, busy when I like see what you're doing and the sort of energy that you're trying to put out in the world, and then also the art and the work that you're creating. Thank you for doing it, guys.
Oh, you get me with a Kurt Vonnegut quote. Everybody on this call I know is a big KV fan too.
Yeah,
so
let's
I'm
go.
just like, he's right in the heart.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to sign us off. This has been truly a delight. You have been listening to the Holy Fool podcast. Holy Fool is a community of artists and patrons in Denver, Colorado, who strive to hold all things in common. We especially want to support working musicians who are trying to figure out the business of music, how to figure out a way to do songwriting, recording in a way that is sustainable, fits into their life, and enables those artists and musicians to be able to do it over the long haul, so it's not just a thing that we used to do in our 20s or our teens. You have been listening to Josaleigh Pollett and Jordan Watko, who play in Josaleigh's band together. And so we have really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Thank you for having us. This was so nice. You guys are the best. Truly.
Yeah. In a second, I'm going to log off. I'm going to hit stop, but stay for a second so that it can get there. All right. Bye. Except pretend. We're going to pretend to say bye. Now we're going to... Bye.
Yeah.